And you're welcome back. It is still iBrand Daybreak. Let's move on to the focus for today. Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf of Kano State has made a plea to President Bola Tinubu, urging the urgent reopening of Nigeria's borders for food import to alleviate the economic hardship faced by Nigerians. The appeal comes in the face of soaring commodity prices and widespread hunger in the country. The governor's call for border reopening underscores the severity of the economic challenges and the pressing need for intervention to alleviate the suffering of Nigerians. To have this conversation with us is Bartholomew Chibuoke. He's a public affairs analyst. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me as well.
All right. Let us take a look at the border closure in the first place. It was to help, put a nip to arms proliferation into the country. That was part of the reason that was given for closing the border in the first place, and also for, of course, smuggling of foodstuff and all that. But over time, to an extent, it has proven to affect the country in the negative. It was something that could be dealt with, seeing that our economy was manageable to an extent at some point. But with the level that we've gotten to economically since 2020, end of 2023, to the situation we're having to deal with today as a country, the economy has gone from bad to terrible. You would agree with me on that. And now we're having conversations around reopening the borders, even though governor the recent governor has, been, let me say, bold enough to speak the mind of many Nigerians, to ask the question that has been on everybody's lips. Before we delve into the conversation deeply, do you agree with the school of thought that feels like the borders should be opened again? You want to call it imports and exports, especially to neighboring countries, but there is also that hydra-headed demon about proliferation of arms and smuggling of foodstuff. It is still there, hasn't been dealt with. But first, how do you react to this conversation?
Good morning once again. I just have to say I'm indifferent here in the sense that, number one, you omitted something. It's not for armed proliferation alone. That wasn't what they told us.
Part of the reasons that was given.
Another major reasons why the past administration said that they were going to close it was to help local businesses to thrive. That was the intention. But the issue remains that there are some things, you are doing one thing and you leave another thing also. Economy of every nation is not isolated to, or is not tagged to a particular channel, importation, exportation. So we have to ask ourselves questions. Number one, other countries that were able to manage the arms from coming in illegally into their countries or going out, did they close borders? These are the questions they have to ask themselves. If they did not close borders, how are they doing it? That you make sure that border is still open, then what shouldn't come in is not actually coming in. There are some people that are stationed there, most especially the customs, the immigrations, and the rest of them. Okay, ever since they closed the border, have we not seen much more of that? Insecurity is quite on the higher side ever since they closed it, making nonsense of the idea of closing border for the sake of coming in or going out illegally. Okay, let's go to the food items. You said you want the local businesses to thrive, therefore you are closing border. It's supposed to be a good idea. Are we still not having rice? That is part of those things. What happens is that whenever policy comes out and is not checkmated or is not being monitored, you are only enriching a few Nigerians who can do anything at all. Some people can say, okay, I will abide by the law. Many will just go the other way around. Or some people that will not say, I am in the position so I can bring in, nobody checkmates me, nobody checks me. They have to not. So make sure that you are not enriching a few Nigerians. So that's why I'm saying I am indifferent, in the sense that it's supposed to be a good thing if it is for them to checkmate food items to assist local businesses, then it's not a good idea to me if you are saying it for the sake of arms coming in or arms going out there. Let's emulate other countries. Let's do the right thing. I'm still not sure that the people that are positioned there are doing the right thing. If not, those things wouldn't have been like that.
All right, so you said it made a nonsense of the policy, that they put in place to make sure that part and parcel of it, which is armed proliferation and of course encouraging local production, thrives. But then again, we are even seeing more businesses closing shops. That's even another kettle of fish we're not looking at. Aside from the fact that even most of this importation of goods are still finding its way in, and of course it's still on the high side. Now, what do you think, especially looking at it from the comparison you gave earlier on, that other countries allow their borders to open, but of course stringent measures are made to curtail the illegal importation of goods and services? Now, what do you think needs to be done aside total closure of those borders? What do you think needs to be done to make sure that while you are encouraging local content to thrive, you are also curtailing the free flow of ammunition around the country?
Number one, like I said, no economy of any nation is not isolated. It's always depending on one thing or the other, or one country or the other. Number one, you block the border, insecurity you've not been able to handle. If you want to help the local farmers or the local productions to be there, let's take out one thing, agriculture for instance. Agriculture, before you be in the farm, you have to go to the farm. How have you been able to secure their lives? When you find out that they cannot go to the farm anymore, they cannot farm, the scarcity will still be there. Anyone that goes to the farm loses his or her life. Nobody will want his relative to go to the farm. So to me, and now you are asking me my suggestion. So I'm picking out number one is the insecurity there. What about education? That still the insecurity is affecting. You can see that our students can't go to school anymore. But you know that first of all, you want the economy of any nation to thrive, look at the power sector. You must do something at the power sector so that people, companies can operate. Every other thing they set up can depend on affordable power. Let me make it that way. Affordable power must be there. Number two, the security must be there so that people's lives, because a dead person cannot farm for you. A dead person cannot operate a company for you. So the person must have to be alive in order for him to see a company, to establish a company that can now hire other people. So you must make sure that those things. Then education system must be given a priority as well. An uneducated mind is not different from an animal. So now you are killing education by your negligence to what is happening to schools. Adopting schools now in hundreds. I won't want my children to go to school when I know that when they go there, they will not return. They will prefer remain at home. And when there are many Nigerians that are illiterate at home, is a danger to the nation. Complete danger. So there are many areas I expect them to channel their efforts. So I can say that even the governor that is suggesting this to the president loves him so much.
Okay, now let's talk about the, security, because you've mentioned how it is interwoven. Farmers cannot go to farm because of security issues. Children cannot freely go to school because of fear of being abducted. So security cuts across various sectors, agriculture, education. Now, we just read in the newspaper, one of the papers stated that Miyetti Allah has decided to go on a protest if their leader is tried on terrorism. What's your take on that?
Even the Miyetti Allah, for you to be defending, if they have something against him, the law should take its course, irrespective of whosoever is threatening. And for the fact that you are coming out to defend somebody that the court have found wanting, it shows that all of you are the same. Therefore, they should go about those people that are defending people that are doing what the law is against. That is my position on that.
Are you also aware that Miyetti Allah is the Association of Cattle Rearers? If they decide to go on strike and not produce meat? What do you think will be the economic impact it will have on the economy?
We are still saying the same thing. Mieti Allah is not the only people supplying meat, whichever way, to Nigerians. There are those ones that people are doing in their corners. There are a lot that people are establishing anywhere. The Mieti Allah, they move around. We only know them because they have the association and they move around. Do you know there are people that rear cows within their confinement?
But it's not in commercial quantity, so how can it go wrong?
That's what I mean. That's what I mean here. We have been advocating that people should go into the ranching system, right? What is actually scaring people away from all those things is because their lives are not protected. I have once had somebody that told me that he's willing to go and invest right in Ogun State, invest. He had his farm and every other thing there. But you can't go there. As I talk to you now, there is no security anywhere there. And no individual can capably provide security for the entire community or for himself. They can overwhelm you. So people can go into ranching and do a lot of things. They are threatening, no matter what happens here, whatever they supply to Nigeria cannot be a reason why you should support whatever is threatening life. Okay, let's take it this way. Mieti Allah, you are giving us cattle, you are giving us the cattle, you are giving us the cow and the rest of them, you are giving us meat. But then, they are danger to life. Can you give meat to a dead person? So if their leader is found wanting in the area of being a threat to human life, and you are supporting such a person because you are giving us meat, can you give that same meat to a dead person? Can a dead person patronize your meat? So we should give priority to where priority should be given to. Anything at all that is not for humanity can never come from God or be on the right channel, as far as I'm concerned.
Let's take it back to where we started from, which is Governor Abba of Kano State suggesting that borders be opened. And of course, you rightly mentioned that aside from armed proliferation, another major reason was for local businesses to thrive. I mean, we live in Nigeria. We're seeing what local businesses are currently going through. Do you think that opening the borders at this point will in any way help the economic situation that we're dealing with right now? Because we live with people, we are dealing with a citizenry that is very opportunistic, takes advantage of every single opportunity that presents itself, whether it is to the detriment of the fellow Nigerian. They do not care, as long as, I mean, a good example is the Naira redesign policy that happened sometime last year. We saw how everybody in any way that they could take advantage of that situation did, and made the suffering double for Nigerians. So that is just one example. There are people that were into the smuggling business before the borders were closed. I'm sure they are sitting somewhere hoping that Governor Abba's prayers be answered so they can get back into business. Do you think that if this border reopens, that there's going to be a will anywhere to do it the right way? And by that I mean put security in the right positions, have the right conversations, and have the right people handle this issue when it happens. Do you think that this will in any way positively affects the economic situation that we're having to deal with? Now, I know you're smiling, like there's so much going on in your head.
I don't think it's going to be any solution, even though he can be there. It's a temporary thing. Like you just said it, Nigerians are opportunistic in nature. If you open the border, I can tell you, even during past administration, when they said they closed border, there are places in the north, those areas were not closed. They were still moving on. They can only tell you they closed border in some area. And you said something, that the people that were into smuggling businesses, that were out of it, and now they are praying that the Kabil's prayer is answered so that they can go back. They never went out of business in the first place. The people, the smugglers are smugglers. Do you know the meaning of smugglers? Smugglers are people that use the illegal means to bring in things into a country or move it out of the country. Those are smugglers. So the closure of the border only stopped those who were doing it legally, the right way. they now say it is closed. I don't want to do anything dirty. They can go back. So if you are talking about smugglers, smugglers have been there. They never went out of business. Rather, you made them richer. In the sense that something that 1,000 people were supplying things to Nigerians, you block it and only 5 are bringing it in. Don't you think that you are making them richer? Because the opportunity is quite there. So whatever policy they are bringing that way of closure or no closure is enriching the poor, enriching the few Nigerians at the expense of the entire citizen. So they have never gone out of business in the first place. To me, if he prayed for it to happen, I'm not against it. If it will make Nigerians to live a better life. But can I tell you something? I'm quite disappointed by this government, because where I'm expecting them to go to is actually not where they are going to now. The question is this. It was the fuel subsidy that caused the stir everywhere. It's not the closure of the border or the opening of the border. The border has been closed during past administration. Nigeria was still eating something. What happened that you just saw this recent administration? So what action did he take? The action he took differently was the removal of this fuel subsidy. Okay, and I expect them to go to the areas, declare state of emergency in the insecurity that is happening there. Insecurity has chased many people out of. Benue State is the food basket of the nation. You know, they supply food everywhere. Can any Benue person go to the farm anymore? They have finished the people in the farm. They are coming to the communities and ransacking the whole communities and going away. Who farms what you eat? Without the farmers who eat. Okay, you want to depend on importation, and then you are crying that dollar and naira, they are not friends at all. What do you think is happening here? When you are not producing, how do you stabilize your economy? See, opening the border has nothing to do with the economy. It can only help a little to allow Nigerians to eat for now. It doesn't have anything to do with the economy. If you don't tackle the power, you don't tackle the insecurity, there is nothing you are doing about economy that will ever stand.
All right, now, so what different approach do you think the government can toe, especially looking at it from insecurity level? Don't also forget that on the side, we're talking about a private negotiator who is always in business whenever there is an insecurity issue. Now, what do you think needs to be done? Do we need to abolish this? Because in the newspaper this morning, we read that gradually government might start tilting away from having to engage with a private negotiator and resorting to the US for support. Do you think this is the right step in the right direction in curbing insecurity? What's your view?
Number one, I cannot hire somebody to be weeding my farm and I am busy giving fertilizers to the weed to grow more.
Take that again.
Do you understand? I cannot hire someone to be weeding my farm, to be taking away the weed, then the ones there, I'm giving them fertilizers to grow more. I don't think. Let me go back to where I'm going to. Our current president was the one championing the private state generation of power and distribution of power. He was in it. Thank God I have hope. That's where I have hope that something may happen. You know what is happening in Abia State right now in terms of power? They are leading. That is because the geometrics there by Baklomi Nnaji has been there. They were ready. But we never had enabled government to support such good move. Because we now got somebody who is has been nurturing the idea of state generation of power coming to be the Mr. President, then there was a liberation there that they can immediately kick off because he has been there on ground. Now when Aba turns, they have been supplying us, they have been the production hub of Nigeria. What happens? Those people with steady light will take over the whole nation. Only Aba. And they are from there moving to other southeast to be supplying to the other southeast. What happens if Lagos State first of all. Start that, and from there you can see people. Then economy, people can come and invest because there is light. What is chasing them away is because people are moving out because they cannot cope with the current situation of fuel and the rest of them, and no power. Then people will go out of jobs. When they go out of jobs, they will now be hungry. But we know that a hungry man is what? An angry man. Then you have a chunk of angry people out there because people must strive to survive. Why do you think kidnapping and the rest of them is happening? Can't you see that the rate of kidnappings today, kidnapping is even more prominent than killing instantly? You notice it. Because in kidnapping, they demand for ransom. In killing, you don't demand for ransom anymore. They are much more into the business of kidnapping and demanding for ransom than they can enter a community and massacre. That is to tell you that a lot of other people that may have gone out of job have now joined this business. It's no more a thing that we used to know it, the Boko Haram or the ISWA. It's no more their business. I think many other people are now patronizing them here because it's a way of them earning a living. Then you are bringing US to say, come and help us to fight. Did you remember? The same US, they were here to help us in insecurity before, during Jonathan regime, and they left. And the allegation was that their effort was being sabotaged. We want to go back to that US. Have you put in place that their effort that was being sabotaged by now? So you have to be helping yourself before you call for help.
But this is a new administration. So do you think that that's technique of sabotaging their effort will still continue if they need to resort to the US?
It is not actually, it wasn't even the Mr. President himself that was sabotaging it may not be that was sabotaging the effort. It's still the same people on the field. Now, if this president has come on board or a new administration is there, then you need to do before you can now say, okay, something has been done. They can now see your improvements. They call it milestone. Let's see your milestone. Then they can come on board. What has been done in the security system ever since the new administration took place? What has been done there? So you have to see restructuring that has done there before they can now confidently come, okay, we want to help you here. There's nothing we have seen, obviously.
Of course, these are issues that pertain to this border closure. I mean, these are things that need to be looked into before we start talking about reopening the borders and all that hopefully the government in place will look into these issues and probably would have our borders reopened for all the positives that is supposed to come with it. But until then, we're hoping that these things are talked about properly and of course fixed, if that is the word. Thank you so much, Bartholomew Chibuoke, for coming on the show today. We appreciate your time. It is still iBrand Daybreak. More conversations will be coming your way quite after this time out. Stay with us.